Sapphire Beach. I made a video over a week ago when I first arrived in Australia, and the intention was to make a series of videos about how easy or difficult it is to be a vegan when travelling. What's interesting is that isn't what transpired after I made the first video. What I realised was it's much more about becoming consciously aware of what we eat and how we feel when we eat. So I thought it was going to be about a vegan abroad, and of course there are lots of blogs and lots of posts already about that. I made a conscious decision it's actually about 8 months ago, I think, that I would no longer eat any animal products. It was a combination of reasons, and I watched a program called Get Vegucated, and I realised it was, I've been a vegetarian on and off for many years, and it was a health choice. It was also a conscious choice about the suffering of the animals, but also about the impact in general on the planet. So there were political reasons, there were conscious, ethical reasons, but there were a lot of health reasons. And I just noticed how I felt when I ate certain things, and I wanted to become more in alignment and more aware of the way that I ate. So what I've realised is that my relationship to food changes depending on how energized or de-energized I am, how stressed I am or how not stressed. Now that might sound really obvious, but I don't think we're as aware of what is going on as we should be. I certainly wasn't as aware as I'd like to be. So although initially I started off this week with wanting to look at how I went about asking for vegan food, finding out whether I had a choice and choices were like, it actually isn't that difficult to, if in doubt, just ask for the vegetables and, explain to people that you don't want the eggs or the dairy, and check the oils. I'm still not very good at checking the wines, I have to say, but it is a slow educational process, I think, to suddenly start to learn where animal products are. So this video is different. This video is actually about what I have discovered in this last week since we've been away. Now, interestingly, I love my life and I love what I do. And I wouldn't have said I was especially stressed before I came away. But having come away and finally got on holiday, I actually went into second phase, into the rest and repair and replenishing phase. And I became quite ill. So I've had a bout of sort of flu, really weak, and I noticed how different my diet is, or my relationship to food is, in a second phase. So this video and this blog is a little bit more of a broader view, not just of whether I was eating, or getting a good choice of vegan food, but actually of how I felt about food, or how I was attracted to food, what habits I noticed. In second phase, we have different requirements. We slow down, we need to take time out to let the body to heal and repair. So of course it's time to eat, it's time to, we get an appetite back. But what I also noticed was I did fall back into old habits of fancying the same things, wanting the salty crisps, which always used to be my big thing when I was growing up, fancying a glass of wine again, and still having that little bit of a conversation in my head about, well, you deserve it now and you're on a break. So, so the big thing that came up was knowing when I'm full and knowing when to stop eating, and the kind of mixed messages of my tummy saying, well, you're full now, you can stop eating now, but the pleasure of eating, I just have one more mouthful, I just have that one more mouthful, just one more mouthful, and even when I'm feeling full and thinking I should really stop eating now, just having now one more mouthful, or one more drink or whatever. And I thought, well, why? What is going on with me when I do that? And I still don't have the answer. I'll be honest, I don't have the answer. But I think it's something that is not to do with the food itself. Okay. Now we can spot our behaviours around addictions and around addictive behaviours probably slightly easier because they are things we could possibly do without, but food we can't do without. So it becomes very difficult to manage if we have an emotional relationship with food because we still have to eat. And I know that that's one of the big issues when I've dealt with and I've had clients with anorexia or bulimia and eating disorders is, there's no getting away from the fact that we have to eat something. So managing that relationship with food is complicated. What I've realised is noticing how my appetite changes and how my ability to have self-control, ability to take responsibility changes with how I feel. And that has a relationship with food. So that also comes into my ability to make conscious choices about ensuring that I stay on my vegan diet or whether that vegan diet changes. Twice in the last week I have made a choice on a menu and been sure to check the menu, but forgot to ask a couple of questions before the dish came. So when I specifically ordered a dish that was just pasta and a tomato sauce, I made sure to check what kind of pasta it was, that there was no egg in the pasta, but then I forgot to mention, because it wasn't on the menu, about adding anything else, and it came with cheese, parmesan grated on the top. And that's an interesting dilemma for me, certainly as a Buddhist, when we're looking at minimum damage and maximum gratitude. So in that instant I actually ate the meal, but I felt that I wasn't happy when I ate it. So again, was it a good idea or was it not a good idea? What would you have done? Would you have eaten it because you'd been given it, you'd done everything you could to try to preempt a problem? When it actually came, there was let's call it a mistake. Do you send it back? Do you waste that food that's been put in front of you, knowing that the reason, that behind it all really is to cause less damage? Because sending it back is going to cause more damage. So what do? This is like the Buddhist dilemma: is what is maximum gratitude? What is minimum damage? So I chose to eat it. I tried first to scrape the cheese off, but it had melted into the dish, and I couldn't. So in the end, I ate it. I was uncomfortable, and I think probably, in a psychosomatic way, I felt more uncomfortable than I might have done, knowing that there was cheese in it. So I'm interested to know what you would do if you were faced with a similar situation. Some people I know would absolutely draw the line and say, no, I couldn't possibly eat it, send it back. I certainly don't think I had a subconscious desire to secretly have cheese, because I kind of didn't enjoy it in the same way, knowing how healthy I was feeling for not eating that sort of thing, and how, I suppose you might say virtuous, a little bit virtuous, that I was doing my bit to help the planet and help animals. Something I hadn't been aware of when I became a vegetarian was that so many people took a step towards becoming vegetarian and towards eating more ethically. But actually what that did is it increased the desire for dairy products and for eggs, which of course created actually more suffering because of the way that eggs and dairy is farmed on a large scale. I hadn't been aware of that. It hadn't been something, maybe I was selectively not aware of it, and I think that was the big step for me, realizing that it's about whether we need to eat it or not. I don't need it. Okay, we don't need to eat it. So just because we like the taste of animals doesn't mean that we should kill them. So that's where I'm coming from with my vegetable diet. Let's call it a green diet, vegetable diet. But my ability to say no or to choose or to make healthy decisions is very much based on my ability to self-regulate and self-manage my emotional state. Now, of course, there's a catch-22, isn't there? The catch-22 can be that the better I eat, the healthier I feel, and the more balanced I feel. And obviously we know that food affects the chemical environment in the body. So obviously that's going to be a virtuous cycle of being able to feel better through that. At the same time, you know, if you've seen Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me, you'll know that the more crap I eat, so we're not just talking about meat now, we're talking about kind of chemicals and processed foods and that kind of thing. The more of that kind of stuff I eat, the harder it is to self-regulate, to regulate your emotions, your thinking. Chemicals like that interfere with the thinking processes and certainly with our emotional states. So it's a bit, no pun intended, it's a bit chicken and egg in that the better I eat, the more I can think and kind of self-regulate and make conscious choices and decisions about my food. But the more I can make conscious choices about my food, the better I eat. I think the key thing, which comes back to the conscious health practice motto, if you like, is that we need to become the observer of our daily practice. There's no point me adding insult to injury, getting annoyed or angry with myself or frustrated with myself if I've done something that maybe in a different emotional state I might have done differently. What's done is kind of done. I need to look at what do I need to put in place that I don't let it happen next time if that's not what I want to happen. So it's observing the choices and decisions that I make and observing what it is, what are the factors that contribute to me being able to make the choices in the direction I'd like to go, make the choices I want to make, not end up making choices that I regret afterwards or I feel maybe I wasn't so in control. If I add frustration to the mix, if I add negative feelings to the mix, I'm not really observing why did I do that. It's about being curious. Why did I go with that decision? Why did I choose to choose that food or to keep eating when I wanted to stop really and I kind of carried on putting food in my face and my stomach saying please don't eat anymore. What is the emotional quality of that? What is the thinking pattern? What am I saying inside my own head that means I'm not taking the action that I'd like to take? I'm doing that thing I don't want to do. So it's only by being the observer and actually becoming curious about the decisions that I'm making or the habits that I'm forming or the practices that I have at the moment, am I going to be able to make those changes? Nobody will change a strategy until it's safe to do so. So if I need something from that strategy, maybe I need the pleasure, maybe I need the I can because I deserve it, and I don't seem to have another way of handling that. So I invite you firstly to comment on what you would do if faced with the dish that you realise has something in it that you didn't want to eat. Not that you had a health issue with it, I'm not allergic to it. It was a moral choice, a moral dilemma. But also, I want to encourage you to start to pay attention to what the little voice in your head is saying when you choose your food, or when you're eating, or when you're not stopping when you know you've had enough. What is the voice inside your head saying to you? What's that part of you? Because there's a part in there that is actually needing that strategy at the moment. Where's that part? And if you could bring that part out in front, what does that part need to say to you? What do you need to say to that part? Can we send love to that part so that that part feels validated, heard, and actually maybe we don't need that strategy anymore? If we can understand it, we can evolve it, we can find a new meaning, get a fuller meaning. Remember, our earlier parts, the parts of us that form these strategies, have done so on a kind of narrow bandwidth of information. So we need to help those parts to understand what it is that they need to get out of that strategy and what that strategy is doing and is holding it in place. So I'm going to post some pictures. I'm going to post a bit of text and keep you updated. But that's kind of where I'm at. I've been eating really nice vegetable food. I've discovered an incredible new thing, which is just bread and butter. We use olive oil spread, and hummus, and then beetroot and sliced dill pickle. I'm just eating that like an open sandwich. Cool, I've been really enjoying that. But it is eating slowly, consciously, mindfully, and just becoming aware of what my body's telling me, aware of, if I'm present, what's really going on as I eat this, what is going on in my mind, body and emotional state, and what impact is that having on the overall picture of my conscious health, my conscious health practice. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and I'll keep you posted. Bye bye from Sapphire Beach, which is on the east coast of Australia. It's not quite the Gold Coast yet, but we're heading up that way.